And with that being shared, fam, now let's dive into our breaking story of the day. Cathie Wood of Ark Invest was recently interviewed by Natalie Brunell on the Coin Stories podcast, and she breaks down the math specifically on how she arrived at her $1 million plus Bitcoin price action by the year 2030. So let's break this baby down, shall we? A massive shout out to everyone today in the live chat. Now, I transcribed this myself, which I am so proud of. Meaning you've probably never heard this. You absolutely never heard it coming from my mouth. So check it out. I made this post on X this morning. New Cathie Wood transcript from the interview with Natalie Brunell on how Ark Invest reached their Bitcoin price predictions. So Natalie says, I really want to hit that $1 million price prediction by 2030. How many of you can relate to Natalie and would love to see that $1 million price action for the King Crypto by 2030, 7 years out? Let me know. And she goes on to say, the bear case for Ark Invest is $258,000 per Bitcoin. The base case for Ark Invest is $682,000 per Bitcoin, and the bull case is $1.48 million per BTC as your price target. Can you talk to me a little bit about how your team reached this conclusion? Because folks think they are late, but this shows the compounded growth rate every single year and that they are very, very early, and this has a huge asymmetrical potential. Now listen up, Cathie Wood responded, yes. If you look at the little table on that page, you'll see the building blocks and how conservative they are. I think now this is from memory, and sometimes I get one big idea and another mixed up, but I think the institutional allocation to Bitcoin in the base case, I know at one point we said 2.5%. That may have gone down a little, but if we are right, that assumption alone, I have been in the markets for a long time. And as a new asset class evolves, what institutions do in particular is they tiptoe in. They start with 1%, and then they migrate to 2%, and then they migrate to 5%. So I think in this one, it's 2.5% for the base case. When there is a new asset class, it tends to end up in the 5 to 6% range. This happened to real estate. It happened to private equity venture capital, which is now much more than 6% in many institutional funds. It happened to the whole category of emerging markets. And so I think it is that one alone, it's very conservative. And if you look at the other one, the corporate balance sheets of Tesla, Square, they have Bitcoin on the balance sheets, but we make very, very cautious assumptions. And I think the corporate treasury assumption is 2.5% of all cash and cash equivalents in Bitcoin. In the bull case is 5%. So you can see how conservative even the bull case is, right, fam? If we are right and the purchasing power of Bitcoin becomes so obvious in the years ahead, meaning the purchasing power goes up instead of cash dollars staying pretty flat, it is not in real terms deteriorating, then more and more corporate treasuries are going to be putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Preach. And in fact, the analysts will start questioning them. Why do you have 95% of your cash in a depreciating asset when you could put all of it into a cash equivalent like Bitcoin and have an appreciating asset? She makes a great point. Remittances is another very big market. We assume 10% of remittances in the base case and 25% instantaneous, no fees or minimal fees compared to 8% fees as migrants send back to their home countries. Sovereign treasuries, only 1% in the base case, 5% in the bull. Just like corporate treasuries, they'll be under pressure to start increasing their exposure to Bitcoin. Emerging markets, not just the state treasuries, but all of the populations who are subject to these swings in their currencies and absolute demolition of their wealth when they go through hyperinflations. We assume 3% of the populations in the emerging markets, 3% of their assets in the base case go to Bitcoin, and 10% in the bull. So those are some of the cases. And then there is the very other utility economic settlement network case, and that's 5% of all settlements in the base case and 10% in the bull case. So what that gives you is a sense of how we have built those two estimates, and those are pretty conservative assumptions, we would suggest. So there you have it. I also like to point out that if you did not know, roughly 8 years ago today, Ark Invest became the first US ETF to invest in Bitcoin back when Bitcoin was only trading between $200 and $300 per coin, which ultimately means that Cathie Wood and Ark Invest is up over 12,000% already on her Bitcoin investment. So talk about being ahead of the curve. Also like to point out they're on the list of getting their 21 21 shares Bitcoin ETF being approved as well, alongside BlackRock, Fidelity, and the rest of the massive behemoths in the financial space. So obviously, I take great credibility off of what she is sharing. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think the Bitcoin bull case can really hit $1.48 million per coin by the year 2030? What do you think about her bear case and her base case? Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments right down below.